Hello, Vinaka, and welcome to For the Record. Tonight we'll be speaking about the Children's Heart Foundation of Fiji and the work they do to ensure that children in Fiji who suffer from heart diseases get the services they need and are able to lead a healthy life. In studio with us tonight, Michael Fong, the trustee of the Children's Heart Foundation of Fiji, and Shireen Sadra Azodi, the chief executive of the Children's Heart Foundation of Fiji. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and welcome to the show, both of you. Let's start off with actually what's going on the ground right now. There is a team from Australia that is conducting procedures for, I understand, 24 children. I'd like to find out a bit about what sort of procedures are being done and who these children are, Shireen.
Thank you so much, Edwin. It's really good to be here. So about 1 week ago, we received a group of surgical doctors and nurses from Australia. These are volunteers from Sydney Adventist Hospital. They come once a year here to Fiji to perform open heart surgeries on both children and adults. The kind of surgeries that they do are very, very invasive. In fact, it's the most invasive kind of surgeries that a person can undergo. And they basically round up all the children once a year and all the adults and come for 1 week and squeeze in as many people as they can.
These procedures, you say they're invasive. Are they actually life-saving and life-changing for these children?
Absolutely. They're very, very necessary. So most of these children were born with what we call congenital heart defects. This is a type of condition that babies are born with. We don't know why it happens. We've associated some genetic reasoning behind it. But in most cases, we really don't know why it happens. It's basically a malformation of the heart. The heart doesn't really develop the way it should.
Well, carry on.
So we know for a fact that when the heart basically has something wrong with it, the child doesn't have much chance of survival.
Michael, you've been going to the hospital on and off. You've been visiting these children.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about who these children are. I mean, I understand some of them are as young as a year old and they're having these huge operations done.
That's right. Edwin, actually, I had the privilege of witnessing 2 open heart surgeries on the very first day. One was a 25-year-old girl. She went through a bypass. The other one was a year-and-a-half boy. And it's amazing how things happen in the operating theater. And as a parent, as a father, and as a member of the Children's Heart Foundation, there's so much joy in seeing these children going through this free medical, the open heart surgery in Fiji, and the speedy recovery that they go through. And you know, after probably 2 or 3 days after the surgery, the kids are perfectly fine. They're running around in the wards, and the parents are actually ready to take them home. So I think we are very honored and privileged to have this team in Fiji to conduct open heart surgery in Suva.
Apart from these visiting volunteer doctors, what sort of services do we have available for children with heart diseases locally?
Well, we have many services across the different sectors, but we are at the diagnosis stage. So we have diagnosis facilities. Any child that is born is immediately diagnosed. If there is a problem with the heart, then it's identified right away. And they're triaged and they're taken in by the central authority, so which is CWM. They come and they assess whether or not it's a critical condition that needs operation or whether they just need medication.
Do we have instances where it's not picked up when babies are born and then we find out later?
Yes, many. And unfortunately, that happens at the post-mortem stage. So what happens is the child is born, he's okay, healthy, or she's fine, and they don't exhibit any symptoms. But 3 or 4 months into it, they start developing some symptoms. So rapid heartbeat, they don't feel well, they don't sleep well, and then they're not really given the attention that they should. They're not taken to the hospital by the parents, or we just think it's something minor that will pass. And in a few weeks, they die, and they come to the hospital, and we do a post-mortem, and we discovered that the cause of death is actually a heart defect.
Do we have facilities to treat congenital heart disease and other heart diseases in children locally, or do we always need to send them overseas or wait for volunteer doctors to come in?
Well, for the cases that are minor, it's such a wide spectrum of cases. So we have those who are born with a very minor defect that can be treated alone. You know, if you leave it, time will just heal it as the child grows. The hole, for example, in the heart just heals itself. Or you have the very, very sort of critical, unfortunately, very critical cases that require major repair. In some instances, for example, the heart is missing a chamber, or the heart is missing an artery, or something major of that nature. So for those major critical cases, they have to be operated on either overseas or by the visiting physicians.
We'll talk a bit more about that, the visiting teams and children being sent overseas. But I'm interested in the level of awareness there is already in Fiji, especially for parents, when it comes to congenital heart disease. Do a lot of parents know what signs to look for and what to do, Michael?
Not really. Unfortunately, that awareness has just begun, and again, being part of Children's Heart Foundation after my Walk for Life in March. We have agreed that certainly we need to promote Children's Heart Foundation and start speaking with parents and create greater public awareness through the local media outlets. And I would like to thank the media for the way they've come on board and they've supported us. They have really understood our case. Typically, starting from my Walk for Life charity, there was a lot of awareness done on that. I was on the road for 5 days, and I stopped over in a lot of towns and cities and villages, and just speaking with parents and individuals. People actually stopped to listen to me. So that was one of the mediums that we had actually used to promote Children's Heart Foundation, and also creating awareness on CHDs as well.
And on that note, we'll take a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good evening and welcome back to For the Record. We're talking with representatives of the Fiji Children's Heart Foundation about children in Fiji living with congenital heart disease and other heart diseases, and what is going to be done in the future. I suppose that's my next question. What do we need to do in the future to be able to support these children and their families? Michael?
Well, for now, what will happen is, as we were speaking yesterday at the hospital, we will continue to follow up on these children who have undergone surgery or are undergoing surgery. We will identify their needs, when they need to come back to the hospital for further reviews and all that. We also have some very long-term goals and plans as well, as far as education and other needs are concerned for the children. Shireen also has been speaking with Dr. Reapi and the team at the CWM hospital. We will create a database for all of our children, get contact details of these parents, and we will continue to follow up on the needs and the requirements for the children.
If we talk about statistics, how many children in Fiji would have heart diseases right now?
So there was a study done in 2008 by a doctor at CWM, and it was part of her studies, and she found out that it was 5 out of 1,000 children born in Fiji suffer from congenital heart defects. And we have 20,000 children born each year, so that would make it around 110 babies each year born with congenital heart defects.
Is that high? Is that an alarming rate? I mean, even one, I suppose, is still too many.
Absolutely. It's in alignment sort of with the international level. It's in fact a little bit lower, so it's a good indicator that hopefully Fijian babies are a little bit healthier than babies elsewhere, but it's still a very alarming level, of course.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these, as you said, are discovered post-mortem. What sort of advice would you give to parents, and what sort of symptoms would they need to look out for, so that their child doesn't die from heart disease?
Absolutely. So the symptoms are various, but the most common symptoms is basically poor circulation. So if the baby is ever turning blue, for example, a lot of children with congenital heart defects have trouble. The blood doesn't get to the limbs and to a lot of the fingers and the nose and the ears, so they start going blue. Unfortunately, they also have breathing difficulties because the heart and the lungs are best friends. So when something happens, the other one is affected. So they start breathing either very, very fast at times or very, very slow. They don't feel like eating most of the time. They sleep very poorly. And Michael can also tell you a little bit about that, unfortunately, from his experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to bring that up. I mean, you have very personal experience with congenital heart disease.
Yes.
And that, I guess, has made you a champion for the Children's Heart Foundation and all the awareness you do. You even did a 5-day walk around Vitilevu.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about what actually got you into this.
17 years ago, I lost my son. Actually, he was born, he had a normal delivery. And as Sherin indicated earlier, that it was only after 3 months then we recognized a few symptoms and we knew that our son was sick. So we went for a medical checkup, a private doctor, and he said that the baby was perfectly all right. It was part of his growth to be turning blue, short of breath, unable to sleep. The baby was crying a lot, excessive sweating, heavy breathing, and so forth. So as a father, I wasn't really satisfied with those results that I obtained from the first doctor. So we opted for a second opinion, and we went right up to Nosari. And that's when we were told that my son had a heart problem. Then we came down to CWM Hospital, and then we were fortunate that we were attended by a lot of doctors, and then they confirmed that my son had 2 holes in the heart. And then immediately after that, he was admitted into the PICU ward, and we made CWM Hospital our home for 3 months. We actually slept there. I went to work from there partially till that very last moment that he took his breath, and I saw all that. So I was actually reading this book, which was given to us at Phoenix, Fiji by our Chief Executive Officer and our President, Mr. Nidal. And as I was reading this book, I actually noted this down. On the 30th of November last year, I had a vision, I had a voice, and I saw my son's face that I should do something for the children who are suffering from heart problem. And the 2 words that came, that I thought of, or the vision that I had, is to walk for life. And the voice that I had is that, Dad, you should walk for life to save children. And then it was just a couple of seconds that I had that vision. And then I shared that vision with 3 people. First was my immediate supervisor, Mr. Bill Adams. And I told him exactly what the vision was and what I intended to do. Second person was a very best friend of mine, and I shared that with her as well. And thirdly, another good friend, Mr. Ray, and these people came on board and they really supported me. And then I was looking for a recipient, a organization who could receive these funds and channel it for the good use. And then I approached organizations like Red Cross and others. And then I was told that there was no Children's Heart Foundation in Fiji. But then as I visited CWM Hospital to check on the logistics of my work, and then I was then informed at the hospital that we had a Children's Heart Foundation. And then immediately after that, I met Sherin, and we discussed about the plans for the walk, and then we got the ball rolling from there. I also wanted to thank Minister Rosie Akbar, which she came on board after sharing that vision with her. I made a presentation to her in the ministry, in her office, and from the word go, she has always been behind this initiative. And my employer, Phoenix Fiji Limited, and Phoenix Group as well, they have been behind this, and many other sponsors who actually came on board. So on the 24th of March this year, I walked around Vitilevu, which was 510 kilometers, and it was walking and partially cycling, and that took me 5 days. And the intention of that walk was to again raise funds for children who needed financial assistance for medical treatment like the one that we are seeing now. We were also looking at counseling services in the future as well, and providing some sort of financial assistance to the parents who may require, in terms of transport and other meals as well at the hospital.
All right, we'll pick that up again, but right now we have to take another break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're speaking with the Children's Heart Foundation of Fiji. Before the break, you were talking about your Walk for Life, your 5-day trek around Viti Levu. You had wanted to raise $50,000, I understand, for heart disease, children with heart diseases. How far have you got, and what do you plan to do next?
Well, my biggest disappointment was that I wasn't able to raise that X number of dollars as I had planned, but I'm so happy at this stage that I had accomplished the dream, the vision that I had. And the funds that we had generated from that, we had part of that. We have distributed $250 to each of the 24 parents yesterday.
Well, the parents who have their children at City Ground right now.
Exactly. So, their parents who have come all the way from Rotuma, outside of Fiji, anywhere from Nandi and Lotoka as well. Some have come from far in the villages as well. We spoke with 2 parents and they actually wept, and they said, we had to borrow some money yesterday to come to the hospital, and the parents have been spending long hours at the hospital. So we thought by giving them $250, it's a very small amount for now, that will assist them in terms of getting a decent meal while they're waiting in the hospital, while they're staying up with the friends and families, some means of transportation from their home and into the hospital and back home. So that was a small amount that we have given. Walk for Life is now going to be an annual event, working again with Children's Heart Foundation and Phoenix Fiji Limited, and also with the Honorable Minister Rosie Akbar and the ministry as well. Again, to raise funds, to create awareness, and also promoting Children's Heart Foundation.
If we talk about support services, I mean, the $250 that you gave will help in the short term. But is there a system where parents and the children can fall back on for support and just to see them through? Is there something that the Children's Heart Foundation is working on?
Well, I think we're slowly getting there in terms of having that system that we want to achieve. So I think any child that gets sick needs, an integrated approach, so many services. So you need the medical services, you need the social services around them, and you need the community support. So in terms of the medical services, I think we're providing, the visiting physicians that are coming here are providing the services and the operations. The Children's Heart Foundation sends some of the children to India, evacuates them to India to get heart surgeries. And these are the ones that cannot be operated on here in Fiji, just because of the prolonged aftercare that they need. When the visiting physicians come, they stay for usually a week. And there are some children that are so critical, they need more than 1 week to recover. Mm-hmm. So these are the ones we usually end up sending overseas for heart surgeries. So we're trying to create that sort of medical attention for them. In terms of the social part and the community part, this is where the Minister Rosie Akbar, the Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation, has come in, and she has decided that she wants to be able to create some sort of community support for these children. Any child that gets sick is just a burden sometimes on the parents, have to leave their work or not be able to go to work, and they lose money, they lose wages, and so we wanted to be able to step in and compensate them for that.
You've been visiting the hospital the past few days.
Yes.
You were just telling me that it's brought back a lot of memories for you. What does a parent go through in this situation, knowing that they themselves can't really do anything for their child, and their child is now the hands of doctors, and that they're going to have to go through something very painful. Shireen talked about how these procedures are so invasive. You're opening up a small baby's chest and you're opening up their heart.
Yeah. Personally, for me, it has been a difficult couple of weeks since Sunday last week. Personally, being in the theater and witnessing 2 open heart surgeries, and looking at those parents, it brings back a lot of fresh memories, the memories that I had 17 years ago, and something that I wanted to bury. And I had partially buried a lot of my memories, but it just came back when the team came back, and I had got involved with the Children's Heart Foundation and working very closely with the Australian cardiac team here. I understand the feelings of every parent out there, every parent, every guardian who's at the hospital. Many times there's a fraction of doubt whether the children will come out of the theater alive or not, and we need to completely trust in the surgeons who are operating on them, and we need to understand that they are in good health, in good hands as well. Secondly, it's again, as Sharon said, it's sometimes it's the anger and the frustration that parents go through. They leave their homes, they leave their work, they leave their villages, they come and reside with friends and families here. We get burdened, we put a certain degree of burden on other people as well in terms of accommodation, transportation, meals and all that. Again, spending long hours at the hospital, it's the physical and the psychological stress as well. You know, parents come into the hospital 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Some people I have seen, they have been sleeping in the passages as well. Parents, they have not eaten, they have not had a decent meal, they do not go back home. They keep thinking about their children, what is going to be the end result of this entire operation. And the only time you see the joy and the satisfaction is when the children actually exit those theaters and they are brought into the recovery wards. And then you can see how happy and satisfied these parents are. And I've actually gone through the same experience as the parents are going through now. So I fully understand what these parents and the guardians are actually going through at the hospital.
When we talk about the 24 children at CWM who are getting the operations done, there was someone who missed out. One of the girls, I understand, passed away. Shireen, what exactly happened?
So unfortunately, about 2 months ago, we got the referral for a little baby girl called Salanieta, and she was 8 weeks old. She had a major heart defect. She had a very big hole in her heart, and we were making arrangements for her to either be operated on here by the visiting physicians or be evacuated to India. Shortly before that, she got dehydrated and she started getting a lot of the symptoms, and she became too fragile to operate on, unfortunately. So the doctors and the team just tried to put her together, and unfortunately it didn't work out, so she passed away at the age of 4 months.
I guess that's the reality really of heart disease in children.
Exactly.
in Fiji.
Yes.
Yeah. And we will take another break. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we speak with the Children's Heart Foundation of Fiji. I'm interested to know, going forward, I can see now that the Children's Heart Foundation is really going out there, making itself visible, both in terms of being a support structure for families and children, and also for corporate bodies or donor agencies to come on board and help, provide some funding wherever need be. So as we speak tonight, what sort of services would you like to be able to provide, which you're actively working on?
Thank you. So we are, with the money that Michael was able to raise from the Walk for Life campaign, we are now going to try and expand on our local program. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to also hire a counselor for the parents of the children. it's a very, we want to focus on the mental health aspect of it a little bit. It's something that's very emotionally difficult and tiring for the parents to have a child that's being sick and we don't know if they're going to get better or not. So I think we're going to try and provide some services in this area, make sure that we support the parents, make sure they have someone to talk to, and that they are emotionally well and resilient.
Michael, for you, what would you say is the visibility of the foundation right now, and where would you like it to be? I mean, you've basically started the ball rolling, getting out there and getting the word out.
Well, as Sharon mentioned, we have just begun the process as of March this year, and we will continue to promote and promote Children's Heart Foundation, and we'll continue to create awareness on CHDs. In terms of where we would like to be, we would like to be well known in the public as well. In the event a parent feels that the child is sick and particularly suffering from CHD, they can always call a certain number. They can call the Children's Heart Foundation or the nearest hospital or the clinic that they can go to. And then from there, once the cases are referred to us, then we can take appropriate actions and referring them to the specialist as well, either through Lambasa or Lotoka or Nandi or CWM Hospital as well. But in terms of, to answer your question, where would I like Children's Heart Foundation to be? I would like to be a household name in every village, in every town, in every city, that people know that should their need arise and assistance needed in terms of counseling or maybe financial, in terms of medical, in terms of moving the child from the village to the hospital or to the clinic, we should always be there to step up and provide that service on the ground for them.
How far away is this dream?
In reality, the ball has started rolling, and given probably by the end of the year, we should be able to achieve our short-term goals. And we also, Sharon, probably be speaking about longer-term goals. And counseling is one of the processes that the program that we have now. We will get that rolling as well. But by the end of the year, I, as a parent and also a member of the Children's Heart Foundation, would like to see that awareness at least completed by the end of this year.
Right. So far as corporate organizations coming on board, some have a very good corporate social responsibility. Some companies in Fiji are very giving and helping out in these situations. I understand Children's Heart Foundation has its donor agencies and its partners, but would you want more people to know what work you do and to come on board? I mean, again, going back to my question of visibility.
Absolutely. We'd really love for we'd love to expand our corporate sponsorship. We'd also love to expand our community sponsorship. So if we want to create a mechanism where if someone wants to just make a donation, they can go and put some money in the bank and know for sure that it's going to go right away, straight away to a child that really needs it. So we, for the longest time, our only corporate sponsor was the Vodafone 88 Foundation. And we are so grateful to them because since we started our work in 2006, they have given us about $1.3 million, and they've allowed us with this money to evacuate more than 75 children to Australia, New Zealand, and India. So we're very happy for that. When Michael came on board, Pernix Fiji Limited also came on board, and we are so grateful to them for their support and for being there, and so many others that perhaps you would like to.
That's right. Yeah, we also had people like corporate sponsors like Coca-Cola, Mittal come on board. Minister Rosie and her ministry came on board as well. A lot of other private clients like Sense Excavation, Core Technologies came on board, and many others who actually came on board, not only supporting us financially but morally as well. They have been with us. They wanted to understand what I needed on the road, and they provided escort vehicles. They, T-shirts and water and energy drinks and energy snack bars and all this. A lot of that was provided, and we get a lot of emails as well, also on our Facebook as well, congratulating us and thanking us for the good initiative that we have been into, and I get calls from Australia and New Zealand as far as Vancouver as well. People acknowledging our efforts into saving lives, and I think the Children's Heart Foundation and everything that we plan to do is going to grow.
Mhm.
It is going to grow. This is just the beginning of what we have started, and again with the support and love and support and from corporate sponsors, private companies, individuals, church groups, and all that. Our goal is to look after these children.
Yeah.
Children who need financial assistance, children who need better medical services in terms of CHDs. And one has to really go through that experience to understand how desperate we are to save the lives of these children. And 24 children, youngest been at least a year, and looking at them suffering, you got to have a very strong stomach. And organizations such as us and many other corporate clients do come forward and have contributed very significantly towards that. And we have, in the last couple of days, that money has been channeled into the operations and providing the ground support as well to the parents.
All right, and we'll take another break. When we come back, the last segment of the show. Welcome back to the show. We're just about to wrap it up, but we still have some time with Michael and Shireen. So let's continue discussions. I understand there are different types of congenital heart disease. I'm not a medical expert, I have to admit. So what are we talking about here?
So heart conditions in children generally fall under two types. One type is the genetic type, the type that they are born with, which is the malformation of the heart. So this is what CHD is. You can have but another form of it is acquired. So children who are starting 1-year-old to 14, 15 years old are also at risk of what they call rheumatic heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
Rheumatic heart disease starts with a sore throat. There's a certain type of bacteria that comes in the throat. You exhibit the symptoms of a flu, basically. And then from then you get rheumatic fever, and the rheumatic fever causes damage to the heart that is lifelong. And so this is why prevention is really, really important. And this is what we want to tell the parents, that if they see any symptoms on their children, whether newborn babies becoming blue, circulation, heartbeat, all of that, or if the child has something as simple as a sore throat, they have to go to the nearest health center. And if they are not sure and they need any information about heart conditions, they can call the foundation on 337-1007.
You talk about your rheumatic heart disease. I understand it is quite a problem in Fiji, because a lot of times parents and even doctors in some instances just think that it's a cough or a flu, and then you find out that that wasn't the case. Has that happened?
We have
a few cases where we've seen that happen, and it happens a lot. So when a child gets a sore throat, you can never tell if it's the bacteria that causes rheumatic fever or if it's actually just a viral infection. But the good thing about the system here is that without testing so much or taking any chances, if you take the child to a hospital, and I did this with my daughter a month ago, she had a very bad case of tonsillitis. I took her to CWM and they gave her a very strong dosage of penicillin. And that would reassure that whether it's strep throat bacteria or if it's the virus, that it kills it and it doesn't actually lead to rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart condition.
So the prevention stage is efficient. Even if there is a possibility that it could have been rheumatic heart disease, penicillin is the way to go.
Absolutely, but the most important thing is for the parents to actually make that step of taking the child immediately to the health center or to the doctor. This is a very important step.
Yes.
I think a lot of parents, me included, sometimes I feel, hopefully it'll go away, the symptoms will go away, everything will be fine. But it's better not to take any chances, because as you can see with heart conditions, you can go from a sore throat to a damaged heart. And all of this can happen within 1 week.
Mm.
So it's really, really important that we don't take any chances.
Michael, so far as services are concerned, Shireen talked about reaching out to the foundation. I mean, how much can the foundation do right now for these parents and for the children?
Well, the parents can always call us if they need any further advice or counseling and all that. If they feel that they have not received a satisfactory response from the medical, outlets anywhere in the country, they can always call us, and we can always speak with them and provide the ground support and speak with the experts here at the hospital, whether it be in CWM or it's in Lambasa Hospital or anywhere in the country. We can always, our networking has been really been strong for us since we started all this. So we can always get these parents connected to the right people immediately.
I think we're actually the only foundation in Fiji that was created by doctors. So the Children's Heart Foundation it's under the Fiji College of General Practitioners, and this is a network of more than 400 general practitioners in Fiji who work in the private sector. And they saw that there is need in 2006, and they created it. So our board is entirely full of doctors, very big names in Fiji. And so we're able to do that linkage. If a parent, for example, doesn't know or they're not sure and they want to see a doctor, I can make sure that they see a very good doctor within the same day.
Mm-hmm. So for parents watching tonight, if they have any suspicions that their child might have congenital heart disease or rheumatic heart disease, first thing to do is go to a doctor, get it diagnosed?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And call us.
Right. So let's talk about the procedures that are going on right now at CWM. I had the privilege of being there as well on a tour as the doctors were starting their work, and I was quite amazed with the facilities that we have at CWM. I mean, Michael, you've been going in and out as well, and I heard one of the doctors from Australia just mention in passing that they're also amazed by what we have now in terms of theatres and backup services and recovery services compared to what was there a couple of years ago. What are your reflections on this?
My son was actually admitted in the Peakwood Pediatric Intensive Care Unit for 3 months, and I compare that to what we have now. In terms of cleanliness, absolutely, it's an upgrade. We are very close to international standards, and what I see, the way the actual layout of the hospital, the cleanliness, the equipments that they have, the equipments that I saw in the theater compared to 17 years ago, and the ground support as well, it's just been awesome. I mean, 17 years ago, I stood alone on my 2 feet, and I went through the ordeal of running to the doctors. There was no financial support. There was no counseling services for my son and for my family and for me as well. But all that has now changed, and you walk into CWM Hospital now, it's amazing. It's amazing. It just gives you a sigh of relief and that confidence that your child is been well looked after. Just that sight of walking in the hospital and meeting the team of dedicated and professional doctors, even our local doctors as well, they're just awesome. And just talking to the team, it gives you so much confidence that your children are very well looked after.
It's very reassuring.
Very reassuring as well, yeah.
Well, on that note, we've come to the end of the show for tonight. And remember, if you're watching tonight and if you do have any concerns about your children, you're more than welcome to get in touch with the Children's Heart Foundation. Your contact once again, Shireen?
Our contact is 337-1007, and if you forget, we are on the first page of the Yellow Pages.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next Sunday. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, you can email us for the record at fbc.com.fj. Until next Sunday, good night.